Give Alderwoman a minute to get up here. I'm gonna stick this on the podium. Control. Okay.
20 years old. What is he, 22, 23?
Good evening. The special meeting of the Annapolis City Council on Monday, July 11th, 2022 will be called to order at 7:03. At this time, Alderman Schandelmeyer will give the invocation.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If you would feel the need or desire to, please bow your heads and close your eyes. May whichever deity we pray to, please open our hearts to do the work of the people and hear each other and assume that we are working in the best of faith.
Thank you. Amen. At this time, would everyone willing and able, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. I'm sorry. Mayor Buckley?
Present?
No, you're not. You're not Mayor Buckley. Alderwoman Tierney?
Here.
Alderwoman O'Neill?
Present.
Alderwoman Kendall Charles?
Here.
Alderwoman Finlayson?
I am present.
Okay. Alderman Schandelmeyer?
Present.
Alderman Gay?
Here.
Alderman Savage?
Present.
Alderman Arnett? Roll call is completed.
Mr. City Attorney, would you please present the next item on the agenda?
Yes, ma'am. The next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda.
At this time, I would entertain a motion to amend the agenda to remove AP 4622 and AP 5122, reappointments
So moved.
to the Education Commission, and R 4422, payments in lieu of taxes, R 4022, payments in lieu of taxes agreement with Forest Drive, LIHTC, LLC on first reader.
Madam Mayor, if I could have a point of order.
Alderman Schandelmeyer had his hand up first, I think. Are you making the motion, Alderman Schandelmeyer?
I was until our 4022 was mentioned. And
Are you questioning R 40, which is the correct item that's being removed?
I would like explanation.
Agreed.
Then I will ask our Finance Director, Ms. Dickinson, to offer an explanation.
The resolution has not been through the proper review channels by the Office of Law, and we have not done a fiscal impact study because we've seen no draft agreement for it, so we don't know what the fiscal impact is.
That seems like a good reason to not have it.
We just needed some extra time to look at it and make sure that the Office of Law has reviewed it.
That is good enough reason, I suppose. A bit disappointing, though. I was very excited for that.
So, Ms. Dickinson, will that come back to us at our next meeting?
Provided that Law does the review and,
Board of Education.
that everything, and we can do our fiscal impact study, yes, but I think all the information is basically available. We just have to be able to review it first.
Okay.
And there's a typo in it too, in the legislation itself.
It was moved by Alderman Savage.
So moved.
I do need a second, and then I'll call on Alderman.
Second.
Oh, okay, it's seconded. Alderman
I'm
Gay,
sorry.
question?
No, actually, I don't. Is he seconding it for approval or seconding it for removal?
It's to remove the items
I
from the
remove
agenda.
my second, please. I don't second that.
So I'll entertain a second.
Second.
Second by Alderwoman O'Neill. Alderman Gay?
Thank you so much, Madam Mayor. My first two questions are, one, what is the error in the text? You mentioned that there was a typo. And my second question is, how could it have made it this far to the resolution on the agenda and the Office of Law have a problem with it, only considering the importance of time behind it? That's the only reason I asked. I could understand if there wasn't, pressure to get this passed, but there seems to be.
Alderman, let's ask our city attorney to respond.
Many times, the Office of Law and Finance are requested to put something on the agenda, even though it hasn't passed muster, has not been reviewed, and has not been thoroughly vetted to ensure that it has no typos, grammatical errors, that all the parties agree, and that there's a physical impact note. So it was put on before all that was done because it was requested, but it should not have been put on the agenda.
My apologies, Mr. City Attorney. I was under the impression it was on second reader, not first.
No.
I would like to be added as a co-sponsor. Thank you.
Okay, it's been moved and properly second to remove these 3 items from the agenda. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, at this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as written.
So moved.
Second. Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
It's a roll call. It's a roll call.
I'll call on our city clerk to call the roll.
Yes, ma'am. Excuse me. Acting Mayor Finlayson,
Aye.
Alderman Savage,
Aye.
Alderwoman Tierney,
Aye.
Alderwoman O'Neill. Aye. Alderwoman Pendle Charles.
What was going on, but I wasn't.
Alderman Shonda Meyer.
I'm not sure what
Alderman Gay.
Aye. So I'm not really sure.
Your mic's on.
Oh, shit.
Okay.
All right, Mr. City Attorney, would you please present the next item on the agenda?
Yes, ma'am. The next item on the agenda is ceremonial items, beginning with ID 16222, Reverend Colbert, citation.
I'd like to invite Reverend Colbert to join me at the table. And I'm going to do both of them while I'm down
Get him to
there.
read the second one. If you're going to do both, get him to read the second one.
I will also, Mr. Attorney, would you read the second item also, and I'll do both at the same time?
Sure. The second item under ceremonial items is a City Council citation ID 16722 to Gabrielle Gabby Martinez.
Thank you.
Be careful.
I'd like to do Reverend Colbert's first. So Reverend Colbert, if you join me behind the table. It is with great pleasure that I present the City Council citation to Reverend Colbert. Those of you who know him in the community, you know that he retired last month, and they had a tremendous celebration, and I'm sorry I had to miss it. And I was determined to get you here in front of our Annapolis community to recognize you for all of your contributions in the city. And so on behalf of the Annapolis City Council, I present to you the City Council citation. On behalf of the residents of the city of Annapolis, we're pleased to confer upon you the City Council citation in recognition of your work in the community and your retirement from John Wesley United Methodist Church, and to congratulate you on your 16-year pastoral anniversary. Aside from your spiritual stewardship, you are known as a people person, and for all your glorious singing voice and fellowship. We know in your retirement, you will finally have time to catch up on things that you didn't get to do during your busy pastoral ministry. Maybe friends and neighbors will see more of those amazing sweet potato pies and yummy chicken and dumpling dinners you are so expert at preparing. Thank you for all you have done in serving the Annapolis community. We know you will keep doing the good works that you are known for. We just hope that you take some time to relax and focus on the things you want to do. Presented to Reverend Jerry Colbert this day, July the 11th, and signed by all members of the Annapolis City Council. Congratulations. like to say a few words?
To the mayor in his absence, the city council, thank you for the recognition. Man put things upon us and said, I had to retire, but God said that it isn't time to retire. I've been called out of retirement and to serve John Wesley again.
Congratulations.
So again, I say thank you.
Thank you again.
Madam Mayor, if I could.
Alderman Gay?
I just wanted to thank him in particularly for representing the 6th Ward and Bay Ridge Gardens so well. Every resident knows you. You are a staunch advocate for their rights. And I'm grateful to have a relationship with you as well. But on a personal note, I'm more grateful for your service in the church. And my 98-year-old grandmother, who has Alzheimer's now and doesn't remember a thing, she remembers the singing and praying band, which I know you are a part of and have established. And I'm so grateful for what you've done for her life as well. And so thank you so much. I appreciate that.
It is a pleasure to present the second citation to Miss Gabrielle "Gabby" Martinez. Gabby's a member of my church, but more importantly, she's a member of the Annapolis and particularly the Eastport community. You know, we talk about young people taking over and giving them the wings to fly. And Gabby has taken charge and in a very positive way and done phenomenal things. And we know it's just the beginning. So I present this city council citation to you on behalf of the residents of the city of Annapolis. We're pleased to confer upon you the city council citation in recognition of your work in promoting the voices and stories of Black girls and women through your founding of the Black Girl Tribe. Thank you for your advocacy and leadership. After working in the nonprofit sector, you recognize the need for Black and brown girls and women to be given a seat at the table and a voice in the discussion. Through your network of Black girl magicians, the Black Girl Tribe has worked to fill gaps by providing a space for mentorship, advocacy, and culturally competent and relevant programming. Your programs and actions are all developed in the spirit of gained access, noticed need, or direct life experience. Tribe works with sisters in elementary through high school, post-secondary academic environments, and those in professions. We know you are building a movement of women and their allies who will lift up future generations. We appreciate you, Gabrielle "Gabby" Martinez, this 11th day of July, signed by all 9 members of the Annapolis City Council. Thank you. Now, I'm gonna ask you to share with us a little bit about what went on at Howard University just a few weeks ago.
Yes, we had the pleasure of hosting our fourth formation, but actually my 10th girls conference in total. And we welcomed 85 girls, Black girls from all over the country to stay at Howard University for 3 days, where they were I don't even know the word, engulfed in Black girl magic of all kinds, pulling from women specifically in my village, women that raised me here in Annapolis, my pastor, my sister, my dentist, my own OBGYN, coming to speak to the girls, to speak on STEM panels and panels about being a Black woman entrepreneurship. My friends from high school, Teresa Brown, was one of the speakers at the conference. So just doing what we can, showing the girls the magic that already exists in their communities and their environments, and how they are charged with taking it to the next level. And so that's what formation is, and I'm so proud to say that next year we hope to grow and double that number, and bring as many girls as we can. We welcome girls from 12 different states, all over the state of Maryland, DC, and Virginia, not including in those states, but it was a fantastic time, so.
Well, I want to say we are extremely proud of the work you're doing, and we're behind you every step of the way.
Thank you so much. And I would like to say thank you to the entire council, Madam Mayor. I love saying that to you, and Mayor Buckley as well. Thank you for giving Black girls their flowers while they can smell them.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, would you please present the next item on the agenda?
Yes, ma'am. The next item on the agenda is petitions, reports, and communications, beginning with an update from the mayor.
Okay, I do have an update from the mayor, and so I'll read his comments. Good evening. I'd like to start off by offering get well wishes to Alderman Ross Arnett. Mayor Buckley is on vacation with his family at this time, and I am acting Mayor Sheila Finlayson. Thank you for joining us this evening. While the city of Annapolis enjoyed a parade and fireworks celebration on the 4th of July, not all communities were so lucky. I'd like to first thank our public safety team, city staff, harbor master and her team, the United States Coast Guard, and the Maryland Department of Natural Resources for working together to make our Annapolis Independent Day Parade and fireworks a safe and successful event. Next, I'd like to honor the victims of Highland Park, Illinois, Independence Day shooting. Highland Park now shares the unfortunate community trauma that a mass shooting brings. We offer condolences to the families of the victims and to the community. I also would like to take a moment to acknowledge the scourge of gun violence in our community, including last night with 2 victims in Robinwood who were injured while sitting on their porch while shots rang out. I got an update today from the chief of police. Both victims received non-life-threatening injuries and are expected to recover. We must do better as a community, as a society, that resolving our issues without violence is the approach. Let us take a moment to honor the memory of those lost. Thank you. In Ward 2, the Farragut Farmers Market at the Navy Marine Corps Memorial Stadium launched on July 3rd and will run weekly this summer on Sundays between the hours of 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. Stop by to get your local items, baked goods, barbecue, coffee, and more. Parking is free. You've got a few more weeks to get over there before the market will end on August the 21st due to Navy football startup. Thank you to Alderwoman O'Neill for her efforts to get the market up and running. So congratulations, good job. Art in Public Places Commission Summer Concert Series at City Dock continues through September 9th. All shows begin at 6 p.m. on Sundays. At the City Dock concerts, you will hear music from a different band each week, including soul, swing, big band, tango, jazz, and more. Come out and enjoy. It's all free. At one of the prettiest concert spots in all of Maryland, with a view out over the water. Visit annapolis.gov and use the keyword summer concert to find the schedule of performances. This Saturday, we have a Save the Tree event at Truxton Park from 10 until noon. This is a volunteer event to remove English ivy from the forest. English ivy is an invasive plant. It destroys native plants and strangles trees, diminishing our tree canopy. Participants should bring gloves, loopers, small hand saws, water, and plenty of bug spray. Meet at Pitt Moyer Rec Center at the far parking lot near the basketball court. For more information on this event, go to the city's website and use the keyword Save the Trees. Last week, our sister city of Changsha, China, sent a delegation to Annapolis. In 2020, when there was a shortage of personal protective equipment, or PPEs, the city of Changsha sent Annapolis 40,000 KN95 masks to help our forward-facing public safety team to keep them protected in the early days of the pandemic. Last week, Acting Mayor Brooke Schandelmeyer met with a group at City Hall that included Alderwoman Tierney and Alderwoman O'Neill. We thank the Chinese Embassy for arranging the visit. Last item, next Thursday, July 20th, Annapolis's Chief of Comprehensive Planning from the Office of Planning and Zoning will host a bikeways meeting for residents to discuss city and county plans for a new bicycle and pedestrian trail connection between Hilltop Lane and Forest Drive. The meeting will take place at Heritage Baptist Church from 6:30 until 8:30 on Thursday, the 20th. All residents, especially those in nearby areas, are invited to attend. So, let's get on with the meeting. Mr. City Attorney, the next item on our agenda.
Yes, ma'am. The next item on the agenda is reports by committees.
Okay, Alderwoman O'Neill.
Thank you very much, Acting Mayor. I'd like to report that the Transportation Committee will be meeting on Wednesday, July 27th, as opposed to the 13th. That meeting will take place here at 2 p.m., and we were going to have a presentation from Bird Scooters and Bicycles, and Eric Lushinsky talking about the entire short-term transportation plan.
Okay, thank you. Alderwoman Pendle Charles.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The normal meeting for public safety would have been July the 4th. However, that was a holiday. I'm still working with the clerk's office to reschedule it during the month of July. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderwoman Tierney.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Finance Committee meeting met July 6th, and we gave a favorable recommendation to 037-22, which is on second reader tonight. And the next meeting will be held Wednesday, July 20th at 10:30 a.m. Thank you.
Okay, Alderman Savage.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Environmental Matters Committee, at the last meeting, we heard from the Annapolis Environmental Commission. They discussed, is that feedback? Everybody else's mic off? Okay. Okay. Still getting a little bit of feedback. All right. So at the last meeting, we heard from the Environmental Commission, and they discussed their list of priorities. And I'll need to make a note to send that back out to the council. But we mentioned to them they want to kind of give more frequent recommendations to the council, and so we are going to hopefully have them on the agenda more regularly moving forward at the Environmental Matters Committee. As far as our next meeting will be on July 14th, this Thursday, 3 p.m. And we have a number of things on the agenda. We will be hopefully getting an update on the fuel spill in Spa Creek. And on that note, I wanted to ask Ms. Green if you could ask somebody from the Office of Emergency Management to come speak about the diesel fuel spill. And because I just saw it was about 200 gallons that have spilled into Spa Creek, and MD or a Coast Guard, I think it is, who's cleaning it up at the moment. We're going to be talking about the Rocky Gorge project as far as permit status and what the plan is moving forward on that project, because there are a number of questions raised about they're still, sounds like, utilizing approval from 2006. And so we want to see if they're still allowed to, and see if we can get them to comply with our most recent MPDU, affordable housing legislation, as well as environmental legislation. We'll be talking about Parkside Preserve as far as the ongoing sediment pollution issues and also compliance with the resolution we passed back in February, R722, because I don't think there's been much discussion on that since the last director left, and we've been in a kind of transition there, so we're going to talk about, hopefully hear from the administration on the status of that. We've invited somebody to come give us an update on, well, somebody contacted us, I should say, about giving us information about the Greenberry Point golf course proposal. And this is one of the organizations that have concerns about the proposal and just wanted to brief us on what's going on. I don't recall if we have legislation on the agenda for the next meeting, but if not, I don't think it's anything too major. No? Oh, that's right. We have a resolution dealing with potential waiver of fees on restoration projects that get funded through our grant program with the Chesapeake Bay Trust. We postponed that at our last meeting. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I keep out to say Madam Mayor. I appreciate the time to discuss the Housing and Human Welfare Committee. Starting with first, and I told the city attorney I'd acknowledge this, just how pleased I am with the Office of Law and how they've put legislation out in the last couple of weeks. The Housing and Human Welfare Committee, along with my council colleagues, we've put out 4 pieces of legislation in the last month and a half, which seems very, very small. But in my 4 years of being on the city council, that is significant. I'm appreciative of my colleague from Ward 1 introducing legislation, my colleague from Ward 5 introducing amendments. We've got 3 bills up for consideration, either working their way through committees or getting their way through our commissions right now. And so I'm proud. I'm pleased with the work that we've been doing, all tied to the Housing Affordability Task Force. Those, the recommendations are finally coming to fruition, so I'm excited about that. We meet July the 18th, 2022 at 6:30 p.m. We'll be discussing well, actually, I don't know if we'll be meeting that day because Planning Commission meets 2 days after. So we'll work that out. But that's the process right now. And as it relates to the workforce housing legislation, which I know a lot of our constituents have written in about over the course of this past weekend, and we will sort out their concerns. So acknowledgement to the Office of Law for getting our legislation out quickly. Acknowledgement to our council. Gosh, why am I blanking? Council. I was about to say council chair, our council associate, for helping us push through everything in the committees because we haven't met for 2 months, and so she's been on top of that. So I'm excited about that. And then finally, we will have at some point Melissa Maddox Evans, if not at our meeting on the 18th, an emergency meeting in August, to come before us to speak about the hack of these city issues. I was not present at the closed session meeting. I was actually upset that I could not be present due to work obligations. My colleagues have not been able to be present previously, and the meetings have been canceled. And so for some particular reason at this time, it was moved forward, and I missed the meeting. I represent the most public housing in the city. Obviously, the alderwoman from Ward 4 is second, with now Newtown 20 back online. And I should have been included in that meeting. And so we'll pick back on that in an emergency meeting in August, with or without my colleagues, to discuss the issues that they're facing in Eastport Terrace and Harbor House. Thanks.
Alderman, I think that we need to rethink the meeting in August because, that is the only opportunity that the council has off.
I do, and that's why I said emergency, because I think it's critically important.
Well, let me just say that time off is also critically important.
It is. So I appreciate a good mental relaxation as well as the next, but.
Okay, just understand that. Thank you. Alderman Gentelmeyer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Economic Matters will be meeting July 20th at a new time. We will be meeting at 5 p.m. instead of 6:30. so we can try to squeeze in a economic matters meeting and then that bike infrastructure proposal. So I appreciate Takia, you being flexible with us.
Thank you, and I think it's my turn. The Rules and City Government Committee met on July 1, and we addressed 0622, which is the medical cannabis dispensary. We did give a favorable recommendation with an amendment, or several amendments, actually. And so the next meeting will be on Friday, September 2nd at 1 p.m., and I think that's a tentative date. We'll talk about that. Thank you. Mr. City Attorney, would you present the next item on the agenda?
Yes, ma'am. The next item is comments by the general public.
Okay, I have 3 people signed up to speak. The first is Stephen Kahn. Would you step up to the microphone, give us your name and address? And I think I was remiss in reminding our speakers that we have 3 minutes to testify. And we ask that you be respectful of everybody in the room and maintain that. Oh, I didn't skip it. It's in the minutes. Okay, so during comments from the public may not speak on any item scheduled for a public hearing this evening. When providing testimony, you will only be allowed 3 minutes to speak. Legislation scheduled for public hearings tonight are ordinances 01922, the Stanton Center lease agreement, 02022, the Stanton Center lease agreement. The first one was with the Arundel Workforce Development, the second one with Luminous, the next one with the Annapolis Arts District, the next one, 02322, is the lease agreement with We Care and Friends, 028, vehicles and traffic, parking meters, parking and metered spaces, 030, buildings and construction fire prevention code, and 03222, human resources exempt service salary. I invite those who have signed up, and I've already jumped ahead to you, Mr. Khan, so you may begin your testimony.
Thank you, I appreciate it. It's great to be back in person. This is my first time here in a while, so it's on. Green light. Oh, now it's illuminated, sorry. So it's great to be back in person after the pandemic. I hadn't been here in a while. And I'm here tonight, like you just spoke of, things critically important to us, right? Time off.
Could you mind giving us your address?
Yep, 1111 Van Buren Street, Annapolis, Maryland, 21403.
Thank you.
So getting back to the topic at hand, one thing that's critically important, along with having time off, right, is being able to feel comfortable in your own home. I'm here to talk tonight about the inequity of the Annapolis tree replacement and tree removal guidelines that are currently out there. I live, and I started this process back on July 9th of 2020, so it's almost 2 years since the pandemic began as well. Circling back now, after having heard of the house being squished in West Annapolis, I think that's Alderman Savage's neighborhood, no? And somebody killed in West Annapolis earlier this year. There was another lady killed in her home in Crofton earlier this year as well, if y'all read about that. And the level of anxiety it is of a person and not being able to feel comfortable or have time off and having that critical importance of your home as a safe space with living with a giant split trunk tree, which is 5 feet from the apex of my home. So I've got these pictures. I don't know if y'all are able to pass them around the lectern or whatever it's called, just to show the forestation of my lot. Right now, as I understand it, and so that shows where the split trunk tree, which according to my tree guy, is the most dangerous type of tree since it's the most weak. And so it sits 5 feet from the apex of my small A-frame home. And with the winds and everything going on, I'd applied for a permit, right? A lot of my neighbors say, you're crazy going through the city, just take it down. I've always been a rule follower and that's how I like to roll. But right now with 21 trees on my tiny 5,300 square foot property, I already overly contribute to our canopy. I'm not anti-tree at all, but what I am is equity-minded, right? Neighbors of mine, they don't have any trees whatsoever. I think Annapolis City Council has a more common sense approach opportunity here to make each property contribute equally to the canopy that Annapolis strives for, instead of those that already overly contribute to our canopy being penalized when just trying to safeguard the safety of my own home, right? So that's why I'm here to talk tonight. I've been going through this process for about 2 years, like I mentioned. July 9th is when I started the exploring the opportunity to get the permit for it. I was put into a quid pro quo situation. I said, I can't even grow grass on my lot. There's so much shade on it with 21 trees already on a 5,300 square foot lot, right? Then I looked at my neighbors next door, not a single tree. But if I want to get that one tree taken down so it doesn't blow in and squish my A-frame house, I have to replace it with 3 trees. I was put into the quid pro quo situation where the city arborist offered the opportunity to go through, and instead, since I can't even grow grass, let alone planting 3 trees, that in this economy, I don't think anybody's into throwing away money, right? A tree would not survive right there since I can't even get grass to grow. And so I was put into the quid pro quo situation where instead I could fork over $350 for 6 trees to be planted around Annapolis, which on top of a $2,000 job to take down the entire tree is ridiculous. So I would like to propose that the city of Annapolis revise our tree population requirements to allow each property to equally contribute instead of those that already contribute being put at a disadvantage.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen. Great idea, and I'm sure our city manager heard you and will explore options.
Questions?
Alderman Gay?
No question, but I would actually, request, as you've done, that the city manager follow up. I know Mr. Stephen Conwell. He lives in my ward. He's been adamant about this issue, but we have not found any resolution or solution, whatever you like to call it, to his issue. And it's concerning because I've even thought about putting together an amendment to the forest conservation plan that we have to allow him to have the freedom to do as he wishes on his property for the protection of his home. We did speak briefly to Brian as it relates to some of the issues, but there was no clarity, at least from my perspective, maybe from Brian. So if we could follow through with that, David, that would be so helpful.
Appreciate your consideration. Have a good night.
And good to see you back.
Thank you. And I'm going to go because the parking meter at $5 an hour is crazy. Thank you for your time.
The next speaker, Elizabeth Rubin.
Good evening. Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is Elizabeth Rubin. I live at 5 Park Place in Annapolis, part of Ward 1, as Councilmember Tierney well knows. The reason I'm here today is to discuss the issue of parking vehicles safety. Annapolis was founded in 1691. It's a very walkable city, and that's something it's known for. But recently it's become very dangerous for many of us to walk on the city streets. Ironically, because the garage is closed downtown, many of us are walking more, walking on the sidewalks. The sidewalks are typically very narrow, cobblestone sidewalks, no more than 6 feet wide at any point. And the residents of my building, for example, are generally senior citizens like myself. And we want to be safe when we walk down the street. Unfortunately, there's something new developed that's popped up on our streets, on the sidewalks, not the streets, and that's the e-scooters. And they present a severe danger. It's a tragedy waiting to happen. Just last week, one of my neighbors was shaken. She walks all the time. She's in her 70s, but she was walking down West Street near the in the Arts District when a preteen, not a full adult, came zooming full speed down a crowded sidewalk, barely missing and slamming into me. This is what she said. She shouted at him to get off the sidewalk, and man said, "Hey, he's just a kid." Well, if he's just a kid does not give you free rein to pick up a scooter and go zipping down electric scooters on our streets. It isn't dangerous. It's a tragedy waiting to happen. And I don't want to wait until somebody is killed, until a senior citizen falls, or any citizen, your granddaughter, your aunt, your uncle, your mother, your father, and hits their head on the sidewalk. That could lead to critical injury, possibly death, both for the victim and for the person riding the scooter, because they don't wear helmets. I know there's certain parts of Annapolis where these scooters have been banned, and I'm not familiar with those areas, but they should not be part of Main Street, West Street, the most populated areas where people often don't know the geography of the city. They don't know. They're looking down to make sure they don't trip on a crooked rock. They're not looking up to watch out for scooters. And this is a very dangerous situation. And especially downtown in the historic district. Thank you very much. If anyone has questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
I'm seeing no questions. Thank you for your comments.
Thank you, and I do hope to take action to ban them on all city streets.
Let's see. I see no more speakers on our list. Is there anyone else interested in speaking at this time? Seeing no motion in the chambers, I declare the comments by the general public closed. Mr. City Attorney, would you please present the next item on the agenda?
Yes, ma'am. The next item on the agenda is an appointment, AP 6022, recommendation to the County Executive Pittman to fill the City of Annapolis seat on the Anne Arundel County Police Accountability Board, specifically Luke Griffin.
I believe that this item is being withdrawn, that Mr. Griffin has withdrawn his interest in the PAB board. So is there a motion to withdraw AP 6022?
So moved.
Could I get a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor of approving the withdrawal of AP 6022? Discussion, Alderman Savage?
Yeah. Do we have any information? I mean, it's disappointing.
My understanding is that he wished to have his name withdrawn. Am I correct, Mr. City Manager?
That's correct.
Do we have any?
No, we don't.
Alternatives?
Ms. Pettit, would you like to speak to this?
Because he wasn't.
Good evening, everyone. Kate Pettit, Chief of Staff to Mayor Buckley. Yes, we are pursuing some potential new candidates after Mr. Griffin withdrew. We're not ready to confirm any names at this point, but we are pursuing some options this week. We hope to start having some meetings next week. And so the process, I'm planning to write out to all our council members just to outline the process, because I think there was some confusion last time, including on my part. So the process will be that once the candidate has been vetted and we believe they have the right credentials, that person meets with the mayor. If the mayor is satisfied, that person then goes before the Public Safety Committee. We're hoping we can, once that meeting is scheduled this month, we're hoping we can bring the candidate before the committee and understand other council members might want to meet and speak with the person. But we are really pushing the timeline now. Training starts for the candidates, the members of the PAB, I think it's on the 25th of July. So the quickest way, perhaps for council members to engage and meet with the candidate and talk to the candidate would be coming to the Public Safety Committee meeting. But obviously we're waiting for the date on that as well. So there's a few parts to bed down, but that's the plan going forward, and then we would bring the name forward at the next council meeting.
Thank you. Alderman Gay?
Thank you so much, Madam Chair. And I don't want to speak, or Madam Mayor, and I don't want to speak for the chair of the City Council's Public Safety Committee, because it's not my role. However, as it relates to the vote that we have individually as council members for this commission, the important thing is, and I understand the individual gentleman has some issues separate to the side that we won't get into. I thought he was a decent candidate outside of those things, but I think that what's most important is that we get behind a candidate that we can all support. And as she mentioned, we have an opportunity to meet with at the Public Safety Commission. Is that the right forum? I don't know. Because I feel like a lot of the times when you're appointing individuals to these commissions, you want to ask questions that should not be public, regardless of consideration. I understand that, you know, everybody thinks, oh, you serve on a public board, we should know your information. That's not always the case. Sometimes people are willing to volunteer their talents or their professional careers, but not their personal life. And I hope that we take that into consideration when we're looking for the next candidate. But in general, I would also hope that the mayor's office and his chief of staff would bring forth candidates to us that would meet the needs of a police accountability board in the year of 2022, which is also critically important to keep in consideration so that we don't have issues like this. But I appreciate the time.
I'll have to add, I did speak to Ms. Hillary Raftovich, I'm sorry, today on another matter, and she did inform me that he had withdrawn, but that there are other candidates that are already being considered. So we will not go for long without a representative from the city. And we did have an opportunity, but I think it's a lesson learned because we didn't have the opportunity the last time to meet with the candidate. And I think going forward, we will have that opportunity, even if it's before the Public Safety Committee.
Yes, that's correct, yes. And because the committee didn't meet that month, we sort of had to organise the individual meetings. So the process didn't quite flow as it was expected to last month or as it would normally flow. And the other, I was just going to say too that we welcome nominations as well if any of the council members have candidates they'd like to put forward. So, and I think Ms. Raftovich had written out in the past to invite anyone to put forward nominees as well. But we do believe we have at least one promising candidate, but we welcome other nominations if people would like to put names forward.
Madam Mayor?
Thank you.
If I could request also to the Public Safety Chair, with the recommendations that we receive from the mayor's office, that we withhold public knowledge of, in particular, of their resumes until we're prepared to make the recommendation. Listen, I will repeat, I think that had a lot to do with what was taking place in the last appointment process. I don't know the rules. I'll defer that to the city attorney as it relates to releasing resumes and work history, etc. of volunteers, but I just, for some reason, I did not find it appropriate for this particular commission. Madam Chair of the Public Safety Commission, I'll maybe defer to you at that moment once we get to the meeting, but that's just my personal opinion.
I'm not sure that it's appropriate to withhold resumes because all of our boards and commissions are public bodies. But I agree that, you know, the opportunity to interview and ask questions that you may not want to ask publicly is a whole different opportunity for us. But I think that, again, I think lesson has been learned and that we'll be doing things a little bit differently going forward so that we're not in the same place we are now. Okay, so there's a motion on the floor. I'm sorry, Alderwoman, didn't see your hand.
Couple of things. First of all, just want to poll everybody. Who had an opportunity to talk to Mr. Griffin? Okay, everybody? It didn't happen? Okay. First, I'd like probably some guidance from our Office of Law, but the second thing is somewhat of my fear, if we, and I'm not saying we air people's dirty laundry, for lack of a better term, but once they get on this board, someone's going to air it. And we don't want to be accused, I guess, of hiding anything, that creates an even bigger problem. We can certainly ask questions offline, but I don't want to go down the road of whenever we get into any of these commissions, that we find out things later that we should have known before. And that puts us in an extremely awkward position. Now, I'm going to ask for a bit of guidance because I'm not sure how this all works when it comes to generally the boards and commissions for the city. Are we expected to not reveal certain information publicly, or is it okay, or how does all that work?
You can do the process as you will. My recommendation or suggestion, though, is that first, individuals be asked whether their resumes or CVs can be made public prior to nomination. Right now, you're talking about interviewing, discussing with people something that's possible but hasn't happened. And so it may be premature to put someone's CV or bio material, make it public without them even getting a nomination.
True.
So my view on it is that in order to protect the sanctity of the process, it would behoove the council and the committees to interview all the people you want to interview. When you get to a final select list that will be nominated or come to the council, then that information gets released, of course, with the recognition of the applicant, letting them know that it will be released in some form or fashion. Of course, you might want to remove addresses and certain personal identifiable information to protect their personal information, but their basic qualifications should probably be made public, but after you get to the point where they're actually being nominated.
Now, I guess that brings up another question. Would, in this case, I'm just going to use this as an example, would those of us on the Public Safety Committee talk with these people or interview them, say it's 4, ahead of time? Now, the problem becomes we don't want to have a meeting that's not a meeting between the 3 of us. We'd have to do it independently, which means we would violate the Open Meetings Act if we got together before this comes before the Public Safety Committee to talk about who we believe should be the candidate. How do we handle that on the agenda? Because normally the resumes, the CVs are on the agenda. So logistically, I guess I'm asking, how does this all, based on what we're talking about now?
Well, these are considered personnel matters, so you could go into closed session to consider all the details of a person's background and life that need to be discussed, including sensitive information. I do not believe that certain sensitive information is necessary for the public. It is likely necessary for the government to understand more about a person's background. For instance, have you had any problems with the police that would prevent you from being objective on the Police Accountability Board? Have you had any lawsuits against the city that would impact your ability to be fair and objective? These kinds of questions may be questions you want to ask in private for whatever reason, so that the person's information is not out there in public before a nomination is even in front of the council.
So would it be prudent for us, at least in this situation, and I can't speak for any others that come down the pipe, for us to have, as a Public Safety Committee, have a closed session?
In order to do it effectively and quickly, I think it would be best to do it that way.
Okay.
But the rules, there are no necessary rules. I'm giving suggestions and recommendations for a proper way to handle it. But you can do it as you want to handle it. But having been through this in other situations myself, you can lose people because they fear certain things being made public before even a nomination occurs. So you want to be careful with applicants' personal information and personally identifiable information as well.
So I would, I guess, recommend, this is not a formal recommendation, that we have a closed session for how many, Ms. Pettit, do you think there would be about?
At this stage, Alderwoman, we have one potential candidate. So,
Okay.
yeah. So we basically, we started with a field of about 5 or 6 candidates for this position. We lost one to the county. Others have withdrawn. A couple were deemed not suitable. So now we're down to another new candidate that's been identified. So that's one of the reasons I wanted to specifically mention if any of our council members have people in mind. We are in a small pool in Annapolis, and there is a lot of competition. The county has appointed a number of members to this board. So if anyone does have any names they'd like to put forward and can put them forward to this week, we will add them into the list to start the process of vetting and meetings next week.
Let me ask, I think we're getting into 2 different procedures here. Because the mayor has the responsibility of selecting the candidate.
Yes.
We only confirm the mayor's candidate. So we are not involved unless, we impose our will on the mayor. We're not involved in going through a list of candidates and making a selection. That's the mayor's responsibility.
That's right. Yes, that's
He
correct.
brings us the candidate.
That's
what
right.
we're, I think, looking at is how we get to have an opportunity to meet the candidate, ask questions, and are comfortable confirming the candidates that's been brought to us.
I guess my fear is I don't want to go down this road again and there's more time that has elapsed and we have not sorted this out. I don't care. Personally, it doesn't matter to me what road we travel. I just want to make sure we don't get into this situation again where we have had a candidate and for whatever reason, and I have no clue, that this person withdrew. I just want to make sure that we have something clean and clear that we can proceed on as soon as possible so we can get this person trained and all of that.
I think Ms. Pettit has said that they are very...
We believe we have a good candidate and we want to start the process with them as quickly as possible. You're quite right, Madam Mayor, that this is the mayor's appointment. So the first person the nominee meets with is the mayor. So, and at that point, once the mayor is satisfied, the rest of the process plays out. But, we do welcome nominations. That's something that we can, invite. But we do have at least one good candidate that we will be pursuing over the course of the next week.
So I'm going to move on. We have a motion on the floor to give a favorable recommendation to the withdrawal of the candidate, Mr. Griffin, in AP 6022. So all in favor of approving the withdrawal, please say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Thank you very much. Mr. City Attorney, would you present the next item on the agenda?
Yes, ma'am. The next item on the agenda is approval of the consent calendar. Consent calendar includes AP 24, 43, 44, 45, 47, 48, 49, 50, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59. Appointments. Joshua Hatch to Human Relations, Diane Graham to Human Relations, Edith Knight to Human Relations, Jerry Williams to Human Relations, Janet Norman to the Education Commission, Laura Graham Booth to Education, Leo Dessa Ellis to Education, Jesse Packler to Education, Enid Collison Lee, Education, Nancy Lipson, Affordable Housing Community Equity Development Committee, Teresa Von Adelung Bond to the Affordable Housing Community Equity Development Committee, the reappointment of Jennifer Beard to the Civil Service Board, the reappointment of Alvin Collins to the Civil Service Board, the reappointment of David Arthur to the Arts and Public Places Commission, the reappointment of Randy Rowell to the Environmental Commission, the reappointment of Willie Sampson to the Port Wardens, and approval of journal proceedings.
We just missed one, AP 5122, the appointment of Kayla Simon Golder to the Education Commission.
46 and 51 were removed by the council.
Okay, so is there any objection to the consent calendar? I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
So
as
move.
written.
Second.
Okay.
Acting Mayor Finlayson.
What?
You have a second to approve the consent calendar?
Oh,
Nobody?
aye.
Okay, there you go. Alderman Savage.
Aye.
Alderwoman Tierney.
Aye.
Alderwoman O'Neill.
Aye.
Alderwoman Pendle Charles.
Aye.
Alderman Shonda Meyer.
Aye.
Alderman Gay.
Aye.
Okay, the consent calendar has been.
I like that each meeting you try to get to us first individually. I noticed that. Because it was me last meeting. Now it's Alderman Savage. Just yeah.
It moves around every meeting. The next meeting, it will be Alderman Arnett.
Yeah.
Okay, so we voted and we're
The consent
the roll call. Okay, so Mr. Attorney, would you present the next item on the agenda?
Yes, ma'am. The next item on the agenda is public hearings, beginning with O-1922, Stanton Center lease agreement with Anne Arundel Workforce Development Corporation.
Speakers.
Okay, I invite speakers listed, and there's no one listed. If there's anyone who would like to speak on O-1922, please come forward. Seeing no motion, I declare the hearing of O-1922 closed. Did I wait long enough?
You did a good job.
Okay. Mr. City Attorney, the next item?
The next item on the agenda is public hearings, beginning with O-2022, or continuing with O-2022 Stanton Center lease agreement with Luminous Health Community Clinics, LLC.
Okay, again, there's no one signed up to speak. If there's anyone in the chambers who'd like to speak, please move forward at this time. Seeing no one moving forward, I declare the public hearing to O-2022 closed. Mr. City Attorney, the next item on the agenda.
Yes, continuing with public hearings, O-2222 Stanton Center lease agreement, Annapolis Arts District.
I invite speakers to move to the podium who'd like to speak to O-22. Seeing no movement in council chambers, I declare the public hearing for O-2222 closed. Mr. City Attorney, the next item on the agenda.
Yes, ma'am. Public hearings continued with O-2322 Stanton Center lease agreement, We Care and Friends Incorporated.
Okay, if there's anyone present who'd like to speak to O-2322, please move forward at this time. Seeing no action in the chambers, I declare O-2322 closed. Mr. City Attorney, the next item on the agenda.
Yes, ma'am. The next item, as public hearings continues, O-2822 Vehicles and Traffic, Parking Meters, Parking in Metered Spaces.
Again, there's no one signed up to speak. If there's anyone who'd like to speak to O-28, please come forward. Seeing no action in the council chambers, I declare the public hearing on O-2822 closed. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item.
Yes, ma'am. The next item on the agenda is public hearings, O-3022, Building Construction, Fire Prevention Code, Sprinkler, and Electrical Assistance Revolving Funds.
Okay, again, no one is signed up to speak. If there's anyone interested in speaking, please move to the front. Seeing no movement, I declare the public hearing on O-3022 closed. Mr. City Attorney, would you please present the next item?
The next item on the agenda, ma'am, is public hearings continued, O-3222, Human Resources, Exempt Service Salary.
Okay, again, no one has signed up to speak. If there's anyone who would like to speak, please move forward at this time.
Madam Mayor, if I could.
Alderman, could I finish?
Of course.
Seeing no one interested in speaking, I'll call on Alderman Gay.
I just had a question about O-3022 as it relates to the increase when there is approximately $400,000 left.
Ms. Hopkins, could you come and speak to, sorry, we took your chair away.
Sprinkler and electrical. Yeah, this is the sprinkler and electrical assistance.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. And I'm just confused.
Let's finish the action on O-32 and then I'll entertain your question.
Okay, I had to run to the restroom. My apologies.
Public information, too much. Okay. All right, so seeing no one interested in speaking on O-32, I'll declare that public hearing closed. Alderman Gay, you have a question about the previous 03022?
Thank you so much, Madam Mayor. I just had a very, very brief question. I'm looking here as an almost $25,000 increase. I'm trying to wonder or figure out why, and it says there's approximately $400,000 available in the sprinkler loan fund.
Mr. Gerald, could you speak to that, or?
Should I?
It increases the installation projects from 20 to 40 to $45,000, so $25,000 increase.
I can
I'm sorry.
explain.
Alderwoman Tierney?
Yeah. The budget amended the sprinkler revolving fund to increase to $400,000. We met with the business owners when the sprinkler bill passed, and they told us that the loan amount wasn't very much. So we thought, okay, well, we'll increase it to 40, which made sense because we're giving these businesses about 5 years to do their sprinkler work. We do not think they're all going to do it at once. So this is assuming there'll be about 10 applications a year at $40,000, which would be the $400,000. So that's why we thought the increase could be managed, and we would get more action from the businesses. Does that answer your question on why the increase of the loan?
So first reader, so I'll save the conversation for later. I mean, I get it, but I don't get it, because if there haven't been mass participation in the application process in the first place, I don't understand why we'd increase it. Or is it because the amount may be so low that, is that the reason that you're saying?
Yeah, I think it's because the cost to install them has gone way up. So $20,000 doesn't get them very far, and so they don't do it.
But is the purpose of the sprinkler initiative to actually pay for
it's to provide
the full process, or is it to provide a subsidy for the process?
It's to provide a loan so that they can do most of the work. Yeah, because otherwise they don't, or they have a difficulty
and paying it back at no interest, correct?
Right.
That's interesting. For in particularly for we're talking about businesses in the most wealthy part of our city.
It's not zero interest.
Okay.
It's like 1% interest.
1%. Okay, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. Was your question answered? All right, Mr. City Attorney, the next item on the agenda, please.
Yes, next item, starting with legislative actions on first reader, beginning with R3622, city-sponsored special events in fiscal year 2023.
Is there a motion to adopt R3622 on first reader?
So move.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and properly second. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Okay, I will refer it to the Finance Committee. Mr. City Attorney, please present the next item on the agenda.
Yes, ma'am. The next item on the agenda is R3822, nonprofit vendors during Annapolis Songwriters Festival and Holiday Market.
I will entertain a motion to adopt R3822 on first reader.
So moved. Second.
Moved and properly seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. City Attorney, the next item on the agenda, please.
Yes, ma'am. The next item on the agenda is R4522, compensation of Acting Director of Transportation, Agimang Dua.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adopt R4522 on first reader.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye. Madam Chair, if I could.
Alderman Gay?
I'm wondering what the update is on this is the third time that we've extended grace for compensation. I mean, are we actually actively trying to hire someone, or?
Could I call on the city manager?
We are still actively, and we just as recently as about a month ago, the mayor and I met with, and Mr. Malinoff met with a candidate that we're still considering. In addition to that candidate, we have several others that we may want to look at. So yeah, we're still actively. This is actually just the second, but this is the second time that we've had to extend it.
Awesome, I appreciate that. I don't quite understand the fiscal impact note, but I'll reach out to Katie separately for that, because it's saying that we're saving, but it's also implying that we're spending a little more. And so I appreciate the clarity there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So all in favor of the motion to adopt R 4522 on first reader, please say aye.
Aye.
Alderman? Is your mic on? Oh, okay, thank you. Mr. City Attorney, would you please present the next item?
Yes, ma'am. The next item on the agenda is R 4622, Director of Public Works, David A. Jarrell.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to adopt R 4622 on first reader.
So moved. Second.
Okay, moved and properly seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Mr. City Attorney, could you present the next item on the agenda?
The next item on the agenda is O 4222, Business License, Taxes and Regulations, Street Cafe.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to give a favorable to O 42 on first reader.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and properly seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Mr. City Attorney, would you please present the next item on the agenda?
Yes, ma'am. The next item on the agenda is O 4322, Issuance of General Obligation Bonds and Bond Anticipation Notes.
Okay, is there a motion to adopt O 4322 on first reader?
So moved. I have
Been moved and properly seconded. Question?
Yeah, just a
Alderwoman
quick.
Tierney?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just have a quick question on whether or not will we have to suspend the rules next meeting to get this done before the August break? Is there any time constraint?
No, the public hearing will be scheduled for the next meeting.
Okay.
And then you'll have your recess.
Yes.
And then I'm hoping that at the first meeting in September is we'll try to get this all the way through and passed. I don't know if that requires suspending rules or not, but the first meeting in September.
Okay, thank you very much.
Alderman Gay?
Just quick, is there a reason the staff report was not attached? It's 28
Because I actually haven't seen the first reader. I guess there is a first reader, but it came in late, so I haven't had a chance to look at and prepare this.
That's no problem at all. I just was checking, just because it's 28 pages.
We just finished the draft today, finished reviewing the draft today.
So we can count on the staff report being attached before the next meeting.
And along with the fiscal impact. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you so much.
All right, all in favor of adopting O 4322 on first reader, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Thank you. And I refer O 4322 to the Financial Advisory Commission and the Finance Committee. Mr. City Attorney, would you please present the next item on the agenda?
Yes, ma'am. We're now in second readers, beginning with O 3722, Arts in Public Place, Arts Fund Appropriation by Council.
Okay, is there a motion to adopt O 3722 on second reader?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, discussion? Hearing none?
Madam Mayor?
Oh, I'm sorry, Alderman Gentleman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I understand the intent behind this. We did have our hands tied by the state into contributing revenue that we could have used for other purposes had they given us flexibility to spend the revenue that we got from the hotel tax on other projects in the city. That said, I think this resolution or this ordinance would take away some flexibility that we have on the other side. We do just have the power of the purse strings to not pass this and then give them less or no money because of the state's dictation of what comes in. So that is my concern with this ordinance.
May I ask you a question for clarification? Yeah. Are you saying that you want the flexibility to still give them funds in addition to what they're getting that's mandated by the state?
If we so choose to, but also with that flexibility, we could so choose to not do it. I think the flexibility is good.
Okay, thank you. Alderman Savage?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And I think you might be helpful to clarify previous practices, but my recollection is that a lot of our boards and commissions used to have funding for supplies and miscellaneous uses. So I don't think somebody from the administration, please correct me if I'm wrong, but removing this language is not going to prevent us from funding the Arts and Public Places Commission or any of the commissions in the future with a simple budget amendment. We've done it before with commissions. It's not going to be a problem.
May I call on our finance director to speak to that?
I would like to remind you that the council has the final say on all budget decisions. So if something came up at the budget process in future years that you wanted to take care of, it would be through an amendment process that you just went through a few weeks ago. So you do have that flexibility anyways. You are the final decision makers on the budget, what's in the budget.
Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Further discussion, Alderwoman Tierney?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to make it clear that there still will exist an art fund. It is a fund established in our budget. And if I may, if I could just read what we use that fund for, it might lessen your anxiety about giving them money. There is established a fund for the purpose of collecting and retaining public and private funding for the display of art in public places in the city of Annapolis. And other allowable uses include, but not limited to, arts, acquisition of art, support of works of art, advancement of works of art, and all monies in the fund are subject to appropriation by the city council and may be used for such expenses. So that's what we have.
Okay, Alderman Schnellmeyer?
So in that case, it wouldn't be tying the hands like I thought it would. I kind of misunderstood overall, so thank you for the clarification.
Anytime, Alderman Schnellmeyer.
I can hear all to admit it once in a while. I'm sorry, I was asking a procedural question.
I was paying attention.
Alderman Schnellmeyer, did you have a question or?
No, Madam Mayor, I was just simply stating that my concerns have been addressed and they were not as founded as I thought they were. So I was wrong in mission.
Thank you. Further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor of approving 03722 on second reader, please say. No, my mic is not on. All in favor of approving 03722 on second reader, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. On third reader.
Madam Mayor.
It's a motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. We need a motion on third reader to adopt. Alderman.
So moved.
Gay, are you making the motion to adopt?
I was asking a question after he moved. Yeah, and I think it was seconded by Savage.
Hold on a second.
Is there a motion on the floor on third reader? or
Madam
not?
Mayor,
Yes.
we need to slow down,
Okay.
start over.
We
Because-
have approved it on second reader, correct?
Yes, we have, but we need to hear two things.
Okay.
Motion to adopt, who moved, and then who seconded, without intervening discussion so that we can capture the record appropriately.
Okay, so I'll entertain a motion on third reader
So moved.
and to adopt 03722 on third reader. And that motion was made by Alderman Savage and seconded by?
Second.
No, it was moved by Alderman Schnellmeyer.
No, it was Savage and
Yeah.
O'Neill? Okay, so we got, so now there's further discussion?
My question is are there any other scenarios in the city code that we should be aware of where this could exist?
I don't understand your question.
Are there any scenarios in the city code that we should be aware of where there could be potentially double dipping, where a committee or organization may be receiving funding from state obligations or as well as city obligations, or is this the only one that could potentially have existed?
Well, I think we were not aware of the efforts.
We were not, but, and so I'm just asking, is this the only one that could exist outside of, obviously housing is set and we're all good, but is this the only thing? Or is there something that could potentially?
As far as we know, I believe.
Okay, that's fine. I was just asking the question.
Yeah. I mean, would we have appreciated knowing ahead of time that this was happening? Of course. So we don't know. I don't think so. Am I correct in making that assumption, Mr. Gerald, that we're not sure what may be?
We don't know if there's any others like this out there. We don't know of any, but.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Further discussion? Seeing none? There is a motion on the floor to approve it on third reader, and now you're going to do the roll call.
Yes, ma'am.
Aye.
Thank you. Alderman Savage.
Aye.
Alderwoman Tierney.
Aye.
Alderwoman O'Neill.
Aye.
Alderwoman Kendall Charles.
Aye.
Alderman Shanna Meyer.
Aye.
Alderman Gay. Aye. Okay, that ordinance passes.
Okay. Mr. City Attorney, would you present the next item on the agenda?
Yes, ma'am. The agenda is completed.
Yay. Well, before we adjourn, I did have a question for the city manager about the fact that we did not refer any of the leases to committees. So should they be going to? Which two did you request?
Can I say something? They were referred on first reader.
Pardon me?
They were referred at the last meeting.
They were referred?
Yeah, they're not referred at this meeting. They were referred at the last meeting.
All right,
So they'll come, since the public hearing was just held, now they'll come to the committees.
Okay.
And
So we're good with.
I did request the two that have just disappeared completely from our agendas to come to my commission or to my committee. I don't know where they are in the legal process, but I did request them.
Yeah. I don't think they've disappeared. I think they will be coming back at the next meeting, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so they get adopted on first reader.
Okay.
At the 18th?
Alderman Savage?
Are we at good of the order?
I'm sorry.
Are we on for the good of the order?
Yes, please.
So I had one thing I want to bring up. This was in the newspaper about the downtown private security ambassador force that the downtown Annapolis is looking to, they've secured grant funding for. I'm not sure we'll be able to discuss this at the next Economic Matters meeting when we have Mr. Evans at the meeting, because we have a lot of other ordinances on the agenda and I know we're limited on time. So I'm wondering if we could get a work session to talk about that, or I don't know if Public Safety Committee is going to be, I can't recall if you said you have a meeting this month, but I personally have a lot of interest in that. It makes me, before this goes through, I'd like to hear from the police department what their views are on this, and if they feel like there are any other controls that might need to be put in place to make sure nothing regrettable happens with a private force. In concept, I'm very wary of approving a private security force on public property, because I think that kind of opens it up to potentially, if something happens, I don't know if these security ambassadors are going to have as much training as our police officers do, or the same requirements. I think there's a lot to get into before this goes down the road too far, and I'm wondering if we can, again, have a work session and tell Mr. Evans to kind of put the brakes on until I don't know what our role is in all of this. I think there's lots to kind of work through, and I apologize, Madam Chair, maybe you may have more information from Public Safety, but I'm just speaking off the cuff on this.
I'm going to defer that question to our city manager.
No, I think that those discussions would be valuable. I think we're full on work sessions till September. Do we have anything scheduled in September?
Yeah, it's just, the next available work session agenda is probably going to be November.
Wow.
November.
We
Okay.
probably have to have a special work session to accommodate it because we're scheduled through November.
Because I think the newspaper or the press release said Mr. Evans is very close to getting a contract signed, and so.
We met during lunch today, and the suggestion was that maybe the Economic Matters would entertain hearing from Mr. Evans, because traditionally, I think he comes to the meetings and presents on a monthly basis, and that might be an opportunity to ask him what his plan is, and to have the chief or his representative there so that there could begin the dialogue that's needed.
Yeah, I shot him a voicemail today, but I'll reach out again, and I'll invite the chief as well if we can get in touch.
Okay. Alderman Gay?
Several things for afterwards, but on this topic,
Don't break my record. Look at the clock.
I get the record, but it's a lot going on, It's a lot going on. My first thing is, obviously, I agree with the alderman from Ward 7. I don't know how the hell that managed to slip under all of our eyes, but that is crazy to me. I've been in downtown Annapolis restaurants as of late. I'm not talking about years ago or back when there was 2 other mayors ago or whatever. I'm talking about very recently. And if you see how sometimes these security forces hired, contractually or whatever they are, maybe they hired through the individual businesses, treat individuals is unacceptable. We've seen situations in front of Acme with the younger Caucasian woman who was beaten to a pulp and the security did nothing. We've seen situations where the security was over aggressive. That's concerning to me. I was so appreciative of my colleague reaching out to me and letting me know about that, because it shouldn't have been able to just slide under our radar like that. I'm appreciative of my colleague from Ward 5 for reaching out to the individual responsible and bringing it before our committee, because that's critically important. I just think we have to have a basic understanding of what's taking place in our cities on a Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights. Would you allow me to move on further, or do you want to discuss his issue more?
No, please. Is this really for the good of the order?
Well, yes, it is, and I've never heard a city attorney ask if it's really for the good of the order or not.
That was the chair.
Could you define for me what the good of the order is, and I'll respond appropriately. Please define it based on Robert's Rules of Order.
I'll let you answer that, Mr. Lyle.
The portion of the meeting you're in is for the good of the order, different than discussing items that could potentially come back to the council for a vote or consideration. If you're going to deliberate on items that could come back for the council in a vote, you'd want to put that on the agenda and publicize that so that the community can be apprised of these kinds of things. And you want to be careful about inserting those kinds of items at this point in the agenda as opposed to during the normal process of publicizing and putting it on the agenda.
Thank you so much, Mr. City Attorney. I appreciate the appropriate definition of for the good of the order. I don't know if it's appropriate or not. We'll see how many incidents happen until November or December. That's typically our MO, is to let something happen, and then when the incident happens, then we'll respond. We're pretty reactive instead of proactive. My other points for the good of the order in particular relates to incidents that happen in my ward. I don't know if it'll come up for a vote or not because I'm not sure. So I'll have to check on that. I'm talking about the incidents that took place last night where 2 people were shot. That's important to me. I'm not sure if it's important to the rest of the council. What I want to say is actually acknowledging the council. I think we've done a very, very good job of taking the appropriate steps to combat the violent crime that continues to take place in our communities. I think we've established the Office of Community Service. It is not fully staffed, but they're on their way. They have a ton of resources after this past budget deliberation. I've met with Laura, Aaron, Erica. We're working on a number of programs to roll out. We've got our internship program being rolled out as well. I met with Adetola Ajayi as it relates to that. I trust the direction of our public safety chair. I trust the communication I'm receiving from our public safety officials. I'm happy that the police department appears to be on the right track now. We've received communication from that as it relates to the staffing levels, and some that were leaving are coming back because of what we passed in the budget, the appropriate pay increases, et cetera, and bonuses and all of that stuff. I'm saying all of that to say, I don't know what we can do more. This is somebody who has family living in those communities, friends, myself. I don't know what we really could do more. I feel like we've been trying the best we possibly can to combat violent crime in our communities. And I'll actually even say the police department has been doing a fantastic job. They didn't communicate with the public, but they communicate with us. Some of the things that have happened on the backside of this and other crimes. I feel like they have been responding appropriately. Communication is key, and I think that's where our public is caught off guard at, and we've received a number of messages this morning. I don't know if you all did, but I did, as it relates to the crime that happened last night. People just want to know what's going on. And so I think we can still improve on that, and that's something that we can work on as public safety members. But overall, I really do think that we are doing the best we possibly could. And I think it's important for our constituents to know that, just because people are reaching out like, well, what's going on? The shootings and, X, Y, Z. I mean, that's the reality for the country right now, but I want them to know that our council is doing all that we could do. And so I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Alderman, I think the chief would appreciate hearing your sentiments, assuming that he's not watching tonight. But I think he would appreciate the compliments that you offered this evening. So thank you.
Madam
Okay,
Chair.
Alderwoman Tierney.
I'm still not clear on the path forward on the security review. Is it just going to go before Economic Matters so that we should, if we have an opinion, we should be at that meeting?
I just shot him an email.
Okay.
I just shot him an email saying big guy.
Yeah. I just have to say, we put money in the budget for entry-level positions. Our focus has been on the police and hiring and knowing what a good job they do. And I just feel like this just undercuts them and doesn't, it's going to backfire. They're going to say, well, why should I even patrol downtown if you have this other group? And I can share that at lunch, we asked Deputy Chief Bradford. He had no knowledge of this at all. So, Branford.
And I think that speaks to a process that needs to be put in place.
Mm-hmm.
Our public housing communities can't hire security teams without coordinating with APD. Mm-hmm. And I think any community there should be the same expectation.
Right, yeah. And to your point, Alderman
and so
Gay.
that's a discussion
that
maybe will be generated in Public Safety Committee. Rules Committee could take it up. Economic Matters, since Mr. Evans comes to that meeting.
Housing and Human Welfare. I don't know how they're going to treat the homeless.
So any opportunity that we can to clarify this.
And if we need a work session, we can schedule a special work session so that we can discuss this. If after the committees discuss it, if we need a broader discussion by the full council, we can schedule one. Mm-hmm. It sounds like this is an appropriate time to do that, because we didn't know about that either, about this security arrangement.
With August coming up, and that's why I warn us about keeping that time sacred for the council. Summer's going to be over before we know it. I hate to say that. So how long can we wait, though, to have this discussion? It really needs to be had as soon as possible. Before it's kind of too late. So, and I thought that was Mr. Evans running in the door to share with us some information. Okay, is that it, Alderwoman Pindell? Charles?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to say a couple of things when it comes to public safety. There are times when we have to realize, especially if there's an investigation, and I know how sensitive sometimes those things can be. Oftentimes, I'm not privy to certain things, and I've said before, there's some things I'm not supposed to know, and I don't want to know them. And I'm going to spread that to my colleagues, because it can certainly thwart or really hinder an investigation if it's something going on in the community. I understand that residents want to know. No doubt about it. They want to know what's going on. But sometimes it thwarts an investigation that may be on the right track, that we want to move and make sure that everything is done, as we say in church, in decency and in order. And so we don't want to take several steps backward. We want to make sure that we progress in a proper manner. I'm not going to necessarily weigh in on the suggestion regarding downtown and security. I'm not a security expert, never been a police officer, but sometimes, especially when it comes to public safety, it's a large portion of our budget. It's a sensitive topic. It's one that's comes up invariably in many situations. So that's kind of my take on it, just being in that culture and environment, knowing that you all may not understand or even agree with me, and that's okay. But I'm going to do the best job that I feel like I can as your public safety chair. If you want to ask me something offline, certainly not a problem. But some things I just really don't want to kind of talk about it in public. So based on all of that.
I think we should be clear about what we're talking about. Based on what was written in the Capitol, the Downtown Business Partnership, or whatever their title is, wants to hire and receive funding for their own security team without any coordination through our police department, fire department, emergency preparedness. And so the question becomes, how does that work? Is there a process in place if any community wants to hire a security team? You know, is anybody allowed just to bring in their own folks? And we've had the discussion about indemnification, have we not? More than once. So, you know, there are issues that need to be resolved that do not fall in the area of a sensitive nature, but just coordinating efforts. You know, downtown has their own security. What is police doing and what are they doing and how do they work together? That's the discussion that has to be had.
I'm just I should have separated the two things that I was talking about. Okay.
So, thank you. All right, Mr. City Manager, or Mr. City Attorney, have you?
It's been over for 15 minutes.
Okay, so there being no other items on the agenda, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all in favor of the motion to adjourn, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, this meeting's adjourned.